Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We come to you today on the back of our fourth successive defeat against Newcastle United on Saturday, the 5th of March. There's a lot to talk about today, but before we jump into the usually scheduled content, let's meet our fellow Albion fans. We've got Joe. Joe, how are you, my friend?
Yeah.
Hi.
Not overly promising, but we'll get into that. But other than that, other than football, I'm fine. It just seems to be the running theme at the moment.
Definitely. And Joe, you had a baby-free night. How did that go for you?
Slept, pardon the pun, slept like a baby. Yeah, it was great. But woke up with a really bad neck, so I think I slept too hard. Which is
I
always
feel your
fun.
pain there, brother. Feel your pain from another parent. And Aaron, Aaron, we know you're going to have a lot to say today, but putting that aside, how are you feeling in and of yourself?
I'm all good, mate. To be fair, I'm all good. I'm nice and calm at this precise moment in time. I'm
Fantastic.
hungry. I'm tired, but other than that, I'm all good.
Well, let's see if we can keep that calm demeanor going for at least
It won't last.
a minute or two. Okay, so let's jump into it then, guys. We're coming here. We're chatting about how we've lost our fourth consecutive game, as I said in the intro there. And in that time, we've conceded 9 goals and we have scored 1. The goal being yesterday. So before we jump into the first half, let's talk about the starting lineup because it saw a bit of a change. We saw Bissouma dropped to the bench. Steven Alzate started along with Pascal Gross. And we also saw Mope drop to the bench as well. So, Joe, mate, when you saw that starting 11, what were your initial thoughts?
Surprised to see Mope dropped. Obviously, top goal scorer this season for us. Always seems to be the guy that will pop up and get us out of a bit of trouble. But I thought to myself, it's not too bad because he always scores in the 95th minute and he can come off the bench and do that. But in terms of Alzate, I was really happy to see him start, to be honest. And I thought he did really well. Definitely justified Graham Potter's selection. And to be honest with you, I was actually quite happy to see Bissouma dropped. A lot of fans were a bit up in arms saying he's our best player, this, that, and the other. But he's been performing absolutely terribly of late, so absolutely deserved to be dropped. And I think Alzate absolutely has to start the next game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, mate. I think players need to know that if they are not performing to the standards that Potter expects, that there is going to be someone to come in and to take their spot in the starting 11. So, yeah, it was really good to see Alzate start.
But I also quickly, just point out that I'm not wearing a Newcastle shirt. I just realised that I'm wearing black and white and Puma, who they used to be sponsored by. This is my five-a-side shirt, so yeah, it's definitely not a Newcastle shirt.
Amazing, Joe. I'm actually gonna talk to you a bit about those in a bit as well because they've done some things in the newspaper about them. So we'll come on to the Lancing Raiders in just a moment, mate. Aaron, when you saw that starting 11, what were your initial thoughts? Were you like Joe? Were you glad to see that Bissouma had been dropped, or would you have started him, or were there any other changes that surprised you?
I think it was to be expected. I think Bissouma needs to be dropped. Like similar to Joe, I think surprised Morpay wasn't playing or starting, I should say. It was what it was, and if I had to pick the team again, I don't think I'd really change much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, as you say, and as we've said, when you're not playing well, you need to know that there is someone that's ready to take your position in the starting 11. And I think Bissouma maybe just needs to get his head on straight. And it was good to see Alzate come back into the side after what has been a promising run of games for him. Obviously, we've talked about him playing against Newcastle and filling in that role really well. And if Bissouma is going to be leaving us in the summer, it's nice to know that we've got a player like Alzate, like Casado, that can step into that role. So yeah, for my own 2 cents on the matter, I looked at the lineup. I was a bit surprised, as you guys were, seeing Mope on the bench. As you say, Joe, our top scorer, and as a huge advocate of the way we play when Mope's on the pitch, that did surprise me. I was also a bit surprised to see Trossard start because, yes, I know on his day he's unplayable, but those days seem to be few and far between at the moment. So that was my 2 cents. I initially thought, fantastic, we're going for a back five because we saw Veltman, Duffy, and Dunk. But we quickly realised, Joe, that once again we had gone to a back four. And we're going to come on to the defence now because I think it was the post-match comments made by Steven Gerrard after the Villa game, where he said that they knew that they could exploit Albion on the break and in transitions. And it was clear from Newcastle's first goal that they had pinpointed a weakness within our side. Do you think we're becoming more susceptible to the counter-attack with four at the back, or is it something that we just need to learn how to deal with?
Yeah, I think we are, and I think it's something that the players seem to have forgotten. We used to be so good at the transition between a back five and a back four. So we used to go to a back four when attacking, and then quickly slot back to a back five when it looked like the counter attack was going to happen. But with Shane Duffy in the side, Lewis Dunk isn't blessed with pace. Teams just know that they can just pop it over the top, and they're darting quick strikers, which we long to have at our football club. Just get in behind, and Shane Duffy struggling instantly. Veltman maybe caught out of position a few times. Cucurella caught out of position because they're pushing up to attack. It just doesn't work. If you want attacking fullbacks and to be playing Lamptey on the wing, just play a back five. Lamptey, since being in a back four, it doesn't work. He played right wing yesterday. It didn't work for some reason. He just seems to operate better in that back five system, and I don't get why Graham Potter hasn't utilised that, because we've got Veltman, we've got Duffy, we've got Dunk. If you play Duffy in the centre and Dunky and Veltman either side of him, he can operate in a back three. We saw it at the start of the season, and he was fantastic. So I don't quite get what's gone on there. It just seems we've forgotten our fluidity, because we do have it. Graham Potter's a great tactician, and it just seems that we've only got one plan at the moment.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Aaron, do you echo Joe's thoughts? Do you think the back four is a bit of an experiment that needs to end? And just also, what do you think Tariq Lamptey's best position is?
It's fullback. He's not a right winger. It's not hard to see that, and it's concerning because every time we seem to go sort of forward or back, we just look like we don't have a clue what to do. And I even would have said yesterday it's more of a three at the back. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I didn't really think it was more of a four personally. I thought Cucurella was more of the defensive out of the fullbacks, but it very much felt like it was a wide back three. So Velton on the right side, Dunk in the middle, and then Duffy on the left. And it just felt like if one of them steps out, it's just too easy for Wood. It's too easy for Woodlock. They're good players to figure that out. Yes, it wasn't really good enough really yesterday. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. But yeah, I think the formation, it needs to stick to a flat five, as in 3 centre halves, 2 fullbacks. And if you're going to push the fullbacks on, you make sure one of the midfielders holds. Just it's basic football. Go back to basics, get the formation set right, and then hopefully everything will start coming into play like it did at the start of the season.
Yep. One question I'm going to put to you now, boys. I'm going to come back to it in a bit because I want to give you a bit of thinking time. I'm going to ask you a bit later, what do you think Graham Potter's best 11 is at this moment in regards to form and injuries? I'll come back to that perhaps when we've discussed the Newcastle game. I just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up for that. Yeah, I think the back four isn't working. I think, as you say, Lamptey needs to be deployed in that right wing back position, Cucurella on the left wing back position, and then 3 central defenders. I really wanted to see a bit of a shake-up yesterday, if I'm honest. Richie Mills tweeted out a little thing about Graham Potter saying that Potter was going to give fringe players a bit of a go. And I tweeted him an 11. In fact, my starting 11 that I tweeted before the game, I was like, oh, don't at me. But this is the team I want to see. I wanted to see a lot of changes brought in. We did see some. But a calamitous few minutes in the first half saw us go 2 goals down. We've had a little chat about that first goal in which really quick, easy break, Newcastle with pace, whereas Villa's was over the top for Ollie Watkins to run onto. This was very much a misplaced pass. Chris Wood, I think it was, got the ball and just sent it forward. And we just got done for pace. The ball cannoned off the post, and it just fell really, really nicely. It just seemed to be a bit 6s and 7s at the back, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah, as you say, calamitous, really. People pushing far too high when attacking is, again, another victim of the formation that Graham was trying to deploy yesterday. So yeah, and when Newcastle had the pace of was it Murphy or Willock who ran through? Murphy. Yeah, everyone knows he's a quick guy. And then Ryan Fraser as well is always going to keep up with him. Rapid, probably one of the quickest players I've seen. He maybe lost a little bit of pace over the last few seasons, but yeah, he's always going to be up there. And when I saw it happening, I just thought, yeah, that's 1-0. There's nothing we can do to save this. Duffy and Dunk trying their absolute best to scramble back and try and save something, but yeah, it's just another disappointing goal to concede, really.
Yeah, very disappointing. I think, as you touched on, Joe, a minute ago, before Christmas we were a notoriously difficult team to score against, and if teams did score against us, it would be just the 1 goal. It seems since Christmas, really, we've just seemed to be undone a little bit. As I say, 9 goals conceded in 4 games, and Aaron, we've conceded 9 goals in those 4 games. That's nearly as many as the 10 games that preceded it. So in the previous 10 games, we conceded about 9. We've done that in 4. What's happening? Is it a coaching thing? Is it a confidence thing? What do you think, mate? What do you think about this? This poor defensive form that we're in at the moment.
I think it's a mixture of a couple of things, really. I think it's a mixture of injuries. Obviously, losing Webster doesn't help, and selling Burn. Burn was our most informed defender, and it showed yesterday. Like, God, he was good yesterday. Like, he was just solid. This is what we were missing. Just someone just do the simple things right. And I mean, coaching error. I think it's more Potter trying to overthink things too much. I think he wants to try and play a 4 at the back, but then he can switch into a 5 at the back at any point. When it's just sometimes good enough just to stick to one formation, go 5 at the back to start with, and then if it doesn't work, then you've got an option to change it. Don't just chop and change it during the course of the game. And I just 4 at the back just doesn't work. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. It's just frustrating. But I get it. I can get why people say, we since losing Burn, our defensive sort of stats haven't been great, which they haven't been. But surely one player who at the start of the season was our 5th choice centre back going out surely isn't sort of a massive sort of confidence shatter from Dunk, Duffy. Veltman looked poor yesterday. Well, he looked okay, not poor. Poor's a bit harsh, but it just seems like something that's not quite right, and I don't know really what it is, to be honest. I can't put my finger on why. The only logical thing is ever since we sold Burn, we can't seem to stop conceding. And it's stupid. It really is, but it's the only logical explanation I can think of.
Yeah, I think the selling of Dan Burn, not replacing him, as we've said several times over the last few episodes of the podcast. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of, Dan Ashworth leaving has had an impact on the wider Albion sort of community that the club have. I think these things have probably unsettled the players a little bit. Obviously, Dunkey's returning from a lengthy injury spell, and it seems almost immediately there's no time for him to settle back into things. It's just a lot of pressure on his shoulders right off the bat because of injuries to Webster and the sale of Dan Burn, as we say. And it's just amazing, isn't it? We sold Ben White at the start of the season for 50 million, didn't need to replace him. And yet we sold Dan Burn for 13 million, and we just look completely bereft of defensive confidence. It just almost goes to show that Dan Burn was a more important player for us than Ben White, perhaps. So that was the first goal that we conceded, and not even 2 minutes later, we conceded from a set piece, which not particularly something that we see very often, Joe. It was at the near post. Do you think that Sanchez could have done more to stop it, or was it just a bullet of a header?
Yeah, it's a decent header, to be fair to the lad. But Sanchez has been a little bit suspect last few games. You're probably asking the wrong person whether he could have done better, because I don't really know whether his positioning was off or anything like that. I'm not a goalkeeping expert, unfortunately, but just another really cheap goal to concede. Maybe with the centre backs that we do have, could be challenging for that ball in front of Sanchez and not putting him in that position. But then you expect your goalkeeper to at least give it a good go. But as I say, Sanchez has been a little bit off it. His decision making, positioning, stuff like that has just been completely wayward. I think there was one decent save, to be fair, from him, pretty much on his line. So, you've got to give credit where credit's due. But yeah, the hype about him just seems to have died down a little bit. I don't know whether the Spain call-up got to his head and maybe thought he's made it already, so he doesn't have to try as hard, because last season he was absolutely phenomenal. Aaron, you did a great piece on our website, The Rise of Bobby Sanchez, which is a great read. If you haven't read it yet, go and check that out. But it's just disappointing to see that rise not continuing, because he could be, and he still can. He's still really young. You've got to give him that. But he could be a huge goalkeeper in the future. He could be at Real Madrid. He could go to anyone he wants. He just has to keep that concentration level that we know he's got. He has got it. He just needs to keep it.
Yeah, I think, Aaron, when it comes to Big Bob, what do you think? The saying always goes, goalkeepers should rarely concede at their near post. Out of the three of us, you're the goalkeeper. So in terms of that second goal, is there anything Bobby Sanchez could have done about it? And do you think that perhaps this dip in form could be improved if perhaps he had someone that was in the wings waiting for those goalkeeper gloves if Bobby Sanchez did make a few howlers?
I think he'd be disappointed with the goal. I think he's got a good enough hand on it to make a save. It was a good header. It was a good header, but as a keeper, if you got a hand to something, you feel like you should save it. Near post as well. I will say one thing: the marking was shambolic for their second. My God, it was awful. Just seemed to run off the back of Welbeck, and he just didn't really want to compete with him. It was not great. I think in terms of competition, I think, if I'm honest, I can't really say much about if there's competition would he get dropped, because I generally don't know what goes through Potter's mind. But I've been victim of being on the bench as a goalkeeper, waiting for mistakes from the guy who's taken the gloves off me, and it's a weird feeling. I've been on the other end of that, where I've started mistakes and been dropped, and that's the way football goes. And I think we miss that to a certain degree. I think just that sort of competitiveness amongst amongst the goalkeepers and probably, to be fair, amongst the squad. Because let's be honest, you could have an absolute shitter one game and you just know you're not going to get dropped because we haven't got anybody else. And if we do, they're not Premier League ready, or for example, Duffy. I would have dropped Duffy after the Burnley game myself. I wouldn't even had him in the squad. I would have stayed with. Would have put Robertson myself, but again, he's not Premier League ready. It's like Basuma's. He's done well with Basuma. He dropped Basuma when he's not been performing, which is a bold call, but I think it's the right one. And finally started Alzate, where I'm not an Alzate fan, but I thought he was really good yesterday. Probably one of the only players actually came out of that with any sort of credibility. But it's difficult to say. Potter knows what he's doing. Just got to trust him. Will Sherpen come back in and put pressure on Sanchez next year? I don't know. I haven't really seen much of Sherpen to really say yes, he's going to be our future number one. But Sanchez, if he wants to, can go as high as he wants. He can be playing for Barcelona, Real Madrid, if he really wants. And it just looks like he can't really be asked. Like my girlfriend kept saying to me when we went to the Burnley game, it's like he just doesn't look like he gives a shit. He's like just there, like in the warm up, he was making mistakes. Like some of his saving techniques are a bit strange, where he sort of just more uses his feet more than his hands, and it's like I don't know if that's a Spanish thing because De Gea's the same, Kepa's the same. I'm not sure if that's just a Spanish thing what they do. I don't know. We'll have to find out in the coming weeks if you're going to drop him, you're going to have to drop him for still, and that obviously because Sherpen's online. But other than that, I don't think. We can't really play McGill, can't play Toby Ball because they're obviously two youngsters. Yeah, I just don't know where you would go, to be fair, if you were going to drop him at this moment in time anyway.
Yeah, they're fair comments. I suppose the reason I ask that is because I think, obviously last season and for the previous season as well, Matty Ryan was underperforming and there were calls to drop him. But the question was, well, who do you play? Do you play David Button or do you play Jason Steele? Both of which you could argue were perhaps not ready or they weren't good enough. Not ready, they're both old, but they weren't good enough to to take the gloves off Matty Ryan. And for a long time, Matty Ryan just sort of coasted, and I don't think it was to the detriment of him as a player. And then obviously Bob Sanchez came in and took the gloves. I just wonder if Sanchez did have a bit more competition in that department, if we'd see an upturn in perhaps, because I do agree, Aaron. I think you watch him, and he's just quite he's just not fussed, is he? He's just very nonchalant about everything, and in some respects I like that, but in others sometimes I want to see him show a bit more sort of like like the rest of the team. I want to show a bit more passion, a bit more sort of enthusiasm for everything, because at the moment that just seems to be lacking across the whole squad. But you do raise a good point, because we have got several players at the moment that are really quite underperforming. But you look at the bench over the last few games, Joe, there are just no game changers on there. They're all kids from the 23s or, so it's very difficult if things aren't going our way. I don't think we can really look to our bench at the moment and expect them to change the game. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a difficult one because, it depends who's on the bench. It depends who Graham Potter starts. Yesterday we had McAllister come off the bench. We had Malpay. We've seen Trossard on the bench over the last couple of games as well, who can provide a bit of a spark. I thought Solly did really well off the bench yesterday as well. To be fair to him, I think people need to give him a little bit more respect as well. I see a lot of people see Solly March come on and you just know they're at home with their head in their hands thinking, oh, not him again. But he gives 100% every single time. I know I went in on him a little bit after the Villa game, saying that he's taken players on too many times and not delivering a crosses at the right time. But you see in his face that he wants to do something. He wants some support. He wants to change the game. And he has got that in his locker. We just need to see that little bit more confidence from him, I think. Which, there's not much confidence in the squad at all at the moment. So you can't really blame him as an individual. But I think there is enough on our bench to at least try and change a game. Obviously, you mentioned the under 23s. Yeah, they're a little bit like a 50-50 chance, really, whether they come on and have an absolute wonder game and they're dubbed the next wonder kid, the next Darren Connolly, which I'm sure they don't want that title, to be honest, with how that's gone. But yeah, you can't put too much pressure on them to be coming off the bench and to be changing a Premier League game against Newcastle United. You know, that is a huge ask of them. But I would like to see it because for me, the youngsters give that no fear element, really. We saw it with Sarmiento when he was playing towards the start of the season. He was so exciting and absolutely gutted to see him get injured, but it's really great to see him back on the training pitch. I thought Evan Ferguson, when he came off the bench against West Brom, was phenomenal. I know it's against West Brom; it's one step down from the Premier League, but you know he got an assist. Whether he meant it or not, is another thing. But he still got into that position. And when are these players Premier League ready? If you're going to put them in a Premier League squad, you have to be trusting them enough to do well to come on the pitch. Hayden Roberts, everyone's been saying, put him in a back three. Please put him in a back three. We've seen him in the cup this season. He's been great. We've seen him in the under 23s. So many players have made that transition from the under 23s to the Premier League squad and have done well from it. So why aren't we giving him that chance? I just don't understand it.
No, I agree. And I have been one of those people that has advocated to start Roberts on the left side of a back three. He's in our squad at the moment. He's our only natural left-footed defender, I believe, since the departure of Big Dan Burn. So yeah, and things, as we say, defensively aren't working at the moment. 9 goals conceded in 4 games. I'm going to keep saying it because it just seems so unreal. But something needs to change. And yesterday we did finally score a goal. Came from a set piece, and finally, Lewis Dunk gets on the score sheet for this season. Aaron, is it a long overdue goal for Dunky? But it was a hell of a header, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good header. It was probably the only good thing Gross done all game, to be fair. So yeah, it was a very good header. I wouldn't say it's been common for him. I don't think he's really been. Obviously, he's missed sort of quite a bit, 2-3 months of the season. But it's just nice to finally see a goal. Christ, it feels like forever since we scored, and it was probably well deserved. I think the second half we were actually okay, but just not good enough. Again, to get an equaliser, we didn't really fret really after that. I don't really fretted all game, to be honest. We never really looked like scoring until we did, in my opinion. But yeah, it was a good header, good delivery, and yeah, finally scored.
Thank the Lord. I think there was one chance after that where their keeper had to make a bit of a scrambling save, but I don't think it was going in anyway. So let's chat about it then, because I think, as you say, Aaron, in your opinion, certain things, the game reminded me a lot of the Villa game. Very slow build up, lots of possession. But lots of people on Twitter were saying after the game, I suppose as a way of making for themselves, try to feel better, that we were the better team. Joe, does being the better team matter if you don't come away with 3 points?
Absolutely bloody not. I get a bit annoyed seeing it. But we were the better team. Okay, great, but we didn't even get a point from that game. It doesn't matter to me. All I want to see is us at least try and bloody score, which we don't seem to do. I remember celebrating our first shot on target out of, I think we had 1 shot on target out of 9 shots in the first 60 minutes. That might be wrong, but it was around that. And I jokingly tweeted that I lived 2 minutes from the training ground. I'm going to go and have a look and see if they've actually got goals there, and if they're regulation size, because I just don't understand why maybe this is a bit ignorant of me to say this, but I don't understand why Premier League footballers can't have a shot on target. They've got all week to train. I'm sure they score bags of goals in training. So I don't get what changes in the game. But being the better team, it doesn't matter. We were maybe a tiny bit better than Newcastle, but guess what Newcastle did? They took their bloody chances. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Totally agree. I've said before, we've seen a lot of valid criticism, and perhaps, I suppose, what you might call negative analysis of the team's recent performance this season. We've seen that battered away by saying things like, oh, but we're in the top 10, or, oh, but we were the better team. But as you say, Joe, none of that matters if you're not picking up points. And this brings me on to the question for you, Aaron. Last season, we were guilty of creating hatfuls of chances and not putting them away. But at the moment, we seem to be creating next to nothing. Again, we've said about the problems at the back. What do you think the problems are at the front?
Build-up play is too bloody slow. It's way too slow. I've just seen Arsenal score. They've just gone 1-up against Watford, and their build-up play was rapid. And we get the ball, we take a touch. Oh fuck it, we'll turn about 4 times. I will play it backwards. Give it to Dunk or Duffy. We'll go sideways. Give it to Lamptey. We'll go back again. There's no one who can get the ball and just drive. Even Basuma was guilty of this after the Tottenham game. He would get the ball and he wouldn't do his normal driving runs. He would just sort of just lay it off and give someone else the responsibility. You need someone with a bit of pace who can cut through the lines, who can just run and run and run, and someone who can actually create chances. Which, when you don't play McAllister, we don't look like we have. You know, I just don't understand. And it's infuriating.
It's concerning that a lot of people say, oh, we miss Webster because of his driving runs forward.
He's a fucking centre-half.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. How bad is that we've got to rely on a centre-back to be doing that job? Doesn't make sense.
It's not hard to see where the issue is. It really isn't. If we were quicker in the build-up, we create more chances. We create more chances, we score more goals. You fucking get the ball and you stop it every time you attack. What's the point? You might as well play for the 0-0 draw. Because we're not going to score. We never looked like scoring yesterday. There was no point. Even when Welbeck went through on goal, I was like, he's probably not going to score this. He didn't. And I was like, all right, not a particularly big surprise. And then that was the only moment I thought, oh, we actually played reasonably quick football and there's a good ball through to him. Other than that, we've done nothing.
No, Aaron's sneezing. Bless you, Aaron.
And it was just infuriating. All you want to see is players playing with a bit of pride and a bit of effort and a bit of pace. And we haven't had any of that at all in the last 4 games. The first half of United, yes. Ever since the second half of United, we've been absolutely dreadful. And the fact people were saying, oh, we were the better team. I don't care. Did we win? No, we weren't the better team. Done. If you're the better team, you get 3 points. Straight facts. If you're not, then you don't get anything. We didn't get anything, so we weren't the better team. We weren't clinical enough. Newcastle were. So they were the better team in that. Defensively, we conceded 2. They conceded 1. They're the better team defensively in that day. It's not rocket science to figure that out. And some of our fans are like, oh yeah, but it was a good performance. It was better than the last couple of weeks. I could have put the under-8 team out there against Newcastle yesterday, and it would have been better than the last couple of weeks. The last 2 weeks have been absolutely shambolic from anyone's point of view. I'll say this again. Burnley battered us. Villa played smart and won on. Well, they took their chances and they actually played reasonably well. Not fantastic, but well enough to beat us. We've just not turned up. And we haven't turned up in February. Haven't turned up in March. You tell me when our next point's coming. I can't fucking see it.
Liverpool.
It won't be Liverpool. It won't be Liverpool. We'll probably play Norwich and we'll fucking lose. It's just that's just the sort of annoying shit we do. But actually, no, Joe, you're probably right. We'll beat Liverpool on Saturday. We'll go to Tottenham, or we've got Tottenham at home. We'll beat Tottenham. We'll play Norwich, and we'll fucking lose because that's what we do. We can't beat we can't beat the lesser teams. Like at the start of the season, we took Watford to I say cleaners. We beat Watford 2-0. We beat Brentford but we didn't play particularly well. You know, teams around us we normally expect us to lose. We don't. Expect us to win. We don't. We lose. It's been like that ever since I've been a Brighton fan. I stupidly said going out to the Burnley game, I felt quietly confident. Why did I say that? I don't know, because I know what's going to happen. It's the hope that kills you, and yet again, it was a hope that got me. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand this fucking club. Sometimes it kills me.
Well, can I put a positive spin on this? Just so against Burnley, we were shambolic, right? Against Villa,
if you say because we scored, I swear to God.
Hold on. So against Villa, we were better than Burnley, but it was still crap. Yesterday, we were still a bit iffy. So it's going up slowly but surely. So against Liverpool, we're delivering absolute worldie.
By the end of the season, we might score a goal from open play.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm not being funny. Newcastle's record against us is awful. It always is, and has been. I think their last win was at the Amex when they beat us 2-1 with the Army's ridiculous goal, which I don't want to talk about because it makes me mad. But it's just since then they can't seem to score against us, or even especially at St James's Park. Oh my God, what a goal! Sorry, I got completely sidetracked there. Just an unbelievable overhead kick. It just took me well out of the game there. I've lost my track of thought. Can we start again, please? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So I got completely sidetracked then. Honestly,
who scored?
Hernandez, I think his name is. Overhead kick.
Unreal.
Yeah, unreal.
Oh,
sorry, that's what distracted me. I saw the ball go in.
Aaron saw a goal and was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, goal from open play.
In a while.
Oh wow! Look at that. It's actually an attacker who can actually. To be fair, it's similar to more. Oh, that's actually nice. Better than more plays against West Ham.
Come on in, Mr. Popper. Sign him up. Jesus. Sign him up. He can score a goal.
We'll never sign
him. Anyway, where were we?
St James's Park. Newcastle scored a goal against us there in the Premier League.
So Newcastle haven't scored a goal against us at St James's Park in the Premier League, and they get 2 in 2-3 minutes of each other. And as soon as the second goes in, it's game over. Like the way we've been playing since the Tottenham game, we don't look like coming back. Even when we got the Dunks goal, it still didn't feel like we were ever going to equalise. And I spoke to one of my friends who's a Newcastle fan, and he was saying, "Oh, we didn't play very well. We were pretty poor." I was like, that just shows how poor we were. Because I thought Newcastle done okay. I didn't think they were particularly great. If that's them playing poor, and then I just don't get it. Just don't get this football club. Irritates me sometimes, but I love it and hate it at the same time. It's a love-hate relationship.
It's
love-hate relationship.
It's funny, as you say, like we've gotten at the start of the season, we were getting points when perhaps we didn't play particularly well. And you guys can disagree with me on this if you want, and chime in and tell me I'm wrong. But I can't remember a game this season, apart from maybe Leeds, where we didn't win, where I've watched us perform and gone, that was an absolutely incredible performance. Because although we didn't score against Leeds, I think that was some of the best football I've seen us play this season. But even when we've beaten the likes of Watford, I don't think we've particularly played amazingly, or it's been a game of 2 halves where we start the first half well, or we do slow and poor in the second, or vice versa. I just don't think the performances have been there for 90 minutes this season. And I just don't think we're creating enough chances. As you say, Aaron, the build-up play is way too slow.
It is way too slow. And I think the thing what annoys me is it's always the same people slowing it down. it's not just the one. It's not just the squad. It's the one you play it to one person or a couple of players. So just slow it down instantly. Where you want that one touch bang, quick, not stop and stare, look, run, Cruyff turn, goes nowhere. It doesn't do anything. It frustrates me.
Yeah. Quote from you for you IT crowd fans. The problem with Brighton is they always try and walk it in, which is what people used to say about Arsenal back in the day. But it's true, we're always looking for like the perfect pass or the perfect shot, where sometimes, as we saw against Villa, sometimes you've just got to take a chance on a shot from distance and fate will do the rest. But anyway, boys, another disappointing performance generally, I thought. As you say, Joe and Aaron, I don't buy into this whole, but we played better than they did. We obviously didn't because we lost. And Potter said that after the game. He said that the better team won because they're the ones that scored the goals. So at the start of the show, I asked you...
Sorry, can I quickly have a word on the people that say that we're going to get relegated or dragged back into a relegation battle? Aaron, this is maybe for you, but come on now. Really? No, there's no way that this club will let that happen. Graham Potter will let that happen, and these players will let that happen. We've worked far too hard for that to even cross the players' mind. Obviously, the players aren't going to be thinking, "Yeah, let's get relegated." But yeah, I just don't understand it because there's 10 games left this season. How many now? Yeah, or 11. We are getting more points this season. I know a lot of people are on a down and saying, "Oh, where's our next point going to come from?" The performances will improve. Every single squad in the Premier League, except for maybe City, Liverpool, and people like that, will always have a slump in form. We will come out of this, and we will see better days, and maybe even a goal from open play as well. So yeah, come on, everyone, let's just chill the fuck out.
The thing is, it would just be typical Brighton if we think about top 10 in February and get relegated in May. Like it would just be typical Brighton. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's relegation form, boys. It's not like it's not even that we're playing well and not winning. It's the fact we're not playing well and we're losing, and not losing like by one goal. We're getting battered most games.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it. It's not relegation form. Of course it is. We lost 4 games on the bounce. What I'm saying is this squad have it in them to turn this around. Obviously, I know we're all a bit disappointed and negative and thinking, that we're never going to win a game of football again. But at the end of the day, for all the negatives that even I've said, they are Premier League footballers, and we will see better performances. The performances are slowly improving. We want that improvement quicker. Of course we do. I know we've got really difficult games coming up. We've still got to play Liverpool, City, Tottenham, Man United at home. There's probably a few more tough ones in there. West Ham. Arsenal. Yeah, these are all really tough games. But we've beaten every single one of those clubs before. We can do it again.
It's I think I posted it on the group chat. Our as you say, Aaron, our form is only worsened. It's only worse. No, sorry, let me just prove that. It's only better than Everton and Leeds. They're the only 2 teams that are in worse form than we are.
And Leeds have conceded like 20 odd goals in like 4 games, something stupid like that.
Now I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can @ me. You can drop a comment in the comment section below if you're on YouTube. I think we've got more points. If we had this points tally last season, we would have stayed up. So even if we don't get a single point to the end of the season, I think last season we would have stayed up on 33. But at the turn of the year, we were top 10 and we had lofty ambitions of making a late charge for Europe, or at least consolidating that place in the top 10. We're currently 13th on goal difference, but we've played 2 more games than Leicester, a game more than Villa. I don't think we're going to get sucked into that relegation battle, but I think if things continue the way they are, which I think they will, I think we'll finish about 14th. And I think, as I said in the previous podcast episode, I think that will be not a failure, but it will just be just be so hard to take after such a fantastic start to the season. But boys, I said to you at the beginning of the show, what is Potter's best 11 at this moment in time? Because so my question to you now is, what would you guys do to change this run of form? Would you make personnel switches, formation switches? What can Potter and his coaching staff do to make sure that this slump doesn't continue? So I'll come to you first, Joe.
It's a difficult one because whatever you say, the wonderful world of social media will absolutely batter you and say you're wrong and that you should be starting this person, that person, and saying you have dead ball knowledge. I got told the other day when I was just making a nice little what's the word observation, I guess. Okay, right. Best first 11 for me is Bobby Sanchez. A back three of Webster. So are we assuming that everyone's fit?
No, go for current. So current form and current injuries.
Okay, so Sanchez, back three, Duffy, Dunk, Veltman, wing backs, Kukurea and Lamptey, a midfield two of Alzate and Lallana. And then a front three. I think I've got my numbers right here. A front three of Neil Maupay, Alexis McAllister, and I know we're saying current form, and he's not been great recently, but Leandro Trossard.
I am going to say something that now, Joe, will shake your world. And you know me, I'm not adverse to a controversial opinion.
You're not going to say Pascal Gross at right back again, are you?
No, mate. I'm going to say in the summer we should look to move Trossard on. That's what I'm going to say, because I think on his day he's a fantastic player, but he is a winger and he is playing as a striker. I have not seen enough from Trossard this season or the previous seasons to convince me that things are going to change. 90 appearances, 14 goals. I've made Aaron leave again. I have a habit of doing that. If I had confidence, I will preface this with this. If I had confidence that if we moved Trossard on and we brought someone else in, I would say, yeah, do it. But if it was like Dan Burn, like Ben White, move Trossard on, replace him with no one, then I'd keep him on. But I don't see him enough. And I know that consistency is the difference between him playing for us and him playing for the likes of some of the top clubs in Europe. And I do totally get that. But I just don't think he suits the system that we play unless we play a front three with actual wingers, which we haven't done since last season. Recall when we played against Newcastle last season, we did start with Trossard, Maupay and Welbeck, and we looked amazing. But then we didn't do it again. So unless you're going to play that week in, week out, I think Trossard needs to be moved on, and we need to bring in another striker who's an actual striker. There's no doubt that Trossard has scored some fantastic goals this season and has, he has contributed to a fair amount of points. I'll give him that, but I'm not sold on Trossard, and at the moment I would rather see Solly March play than Leandro Trossard. But that's just me. I'll come to my 11 in a bit. I'll let you just think about what I've said, Joe, so you can rip me a new one in a minute. But Aaron, your starting 11, please, on current form and injuries.
Current form, it would be Sanchez in goal, a back three of Feltman, Dunk and Roberts. I would drop Duffy. I don't think he's good enough anymore. I think he's now hitting his Celtic form from last year. Then the fullbacks of Lamptey and Kukurea, obviously. Midfield two of Basuma and Mode. And then just in front of those two, it would be Alexis McAllister. And then the same front two as Joe, Maupay and Trossard. I just don't think Welbeck's the man to start. I would rather come off him off the bench. I think he's more impactful that way, as my player ratings will show later on.
Yeah, I like it. I think my back, we almost exactly the same as yours, Aaron. Sanchez in goal, back three from left to right. Roberts, Dunkey, and Veltman. Then Kukurea at Lamptey at wing back. And then I'd go for a midfield two, and I would go for Moda and Alzate. And then just in front of them, I'd have McAllister. And then in front of him, I'd have Mope and Ferguson. I think this squad needs a shake up because I totally get that, Ferguson, Roberts, then, and even to some extent Alzate, they probably haven't proven themselves enough in the Premier League to be regular starters. But sometimes I just think, as you say, Joe, if they're good enough to be on the bench, you need to be able to trust these players to get on that pitch. And we're not scoring goals at the moment. So what is the harm of giving Ferguson a go? Maybe not against Liverpool, I hasten to add. That wouldn't be my starting 11 for Liverpool. But for me, that's the sort of starting 11 I would have liked to have seen yesterday. It's one of those. At the end of the day, as we've said many times before in this podcast, Potter sees these players week in, week out in training. He's privy to information that we are not. And we just have to trust him that he knows what he's doing, because he does. But yeah, I thought that might be quite an interesting thing to discuss, considering our current run. Now, before we look ahead to the Liverpool game, Aaron, you've made us really laugh with some of your player ratings in the past. And I don't mean laughing at you, I mean laughing with you. So, Aaron, would you like to discuss your player ratings for the game?
I would love to. And this isn't me being quite nice, I would have said, to be fair. So we'll start off with Sanchez, giving him a 4. Couldn't really do much about the first goal. Second goal probably could have done a bit better, but other than that, he didn't really have much else to do. Couple of good claims from corners, but other than that, not a great deal. Veltman number 5. Probably the best out of the front three. Back three. Definitely ain't the front three. Christ, we're completely changing it about. Dunk a 4. It was pretty poor, but obviously he did score. He hasn't really looked himself really since he's come back from injury, but then again, he's just been chucked straight in there. No time to actually ease himself back in. Duffy a 2. I thought he was dreadful yesterday. I really thought he looked woeful. There was one point he got the ball stuck underneath his feet and tried to play it out. And as soon as he took that touch underneath his feet, I was like, this is going to go terribly wrong. He did. I just didn't think he played very well at all. He hasn't done the last 3-4 games, in my opinion. Hence why, if I was Potter, I would have played Roberts instead of him. Lamptey a 3. He's not a right winger. He's just not a right winger. I don't know why we seem to go to a 4 at the back, or even just a flat 3. He's so much better as an actual fullback. Going into Kukurea, gave him a 5. Done all right. Again, he couldn't really do much with what he had, really. He done okay, but again, pretty standard. Modder actually gave a 4. I thought it was really poor yesterday. I thought it was really poor. Compared to, I see a lot of things on Twitter, and the people just don't rate him. And I think he's looked like he's tired. He looks tired. I think that is an issue. He just looks tired, which obviously his performance is not going to.
He's played the most games for us.
Yeah,
he's
exactly that.
Appearances, so.
Yeah, exactly that, Joe. He's going to be absolutely knackered, the poor sod. Alzate actually gave a 7. I thought Alzate done really well. I actually quite impressed with him, and I'm not an Alzate fan, but no, done really well. I'm not going to bother doing a gross mark because he done one thing in the game. Trossard, I gave him a 3. Again, pretty ineffective, really. And then Welbeck gave him a 2 because he didn't really do a great deal, really. And the subs I all gave 4s because, again, they done okay when they came on. And I think apparently I was being harsh. I went through the play ratings of the old man, and he was like, you're being quite harsh. I don't think I'm being harsh on certain ones. I think I gave Gross a 2, but I feel that's been generous, to be honest. Like I know I'm going to get so much shit from this, but he needs, just don't play him. Don't play him. Play Lallana. Play Basuma. Play someone else who doesn't slow the fucking game down. It really, really annoys me. And yes, he has the most assists. Yes, he has, he's created the most chances. But we need to move on. His contract's done in the summer. It's not going to be rocket science that McAllister is going to be the natural replacement. Start McAllister. Start him every game. And if you want to bring Gross on, then bring Gross on.
I think with Pascal Gross, he's always been slow, but you could at least used to be make the argument that he might have been slow in body, but he wasn't slow in mind.
No, exactly.
But as you say, Aaron, I think it's gone backwards and he's becoming, slows us up, both in body and in mind at the moment. So, yeah. I think
there's one point he made a tackle. I think he clipped Wright Fraser on the back of the head. I was like, just send him off because you've been playing with 10 men as it is. It wouldn't make a blind bit of difference. And my dad was like, yeah, probably a good shout. And I feel like I slate Gross too much, but then he does stupid shit that makes me go, actually, I'm pretty justified in what I'm saying. And I'll probably get a stick on Twitter. That's cool, but that's my opinion. And people have to have an opinion these days, and if they don't like it, then that's fair enough. But I'm not here to please people, my friends. I'm here to give my honest opinions.
Exactly that, and you're well within your rights to say whatever you want to say. But I just think that picking out a singular player for the performances of late, I know obviously yes, you can probably argue that Pascal hasn't been at it all season, but I think picking out one single player sometimes is just a bit. I've seen Brighton fans do it for so many seasons, whether it be Stevens, whether it be Proper, whether it be Ashley Barnes. If you go back there, I just don't think it's very helpful, to be honest. Obviously, you're well within your rights to have your opinion, Aaron. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just putting my sense in it here and saying that it's just not helpful at all. And well within your rights to say he's not doing enough. But I think sometimes you just have to leave it.
I get that, but then it's not just him that I'm saying it about. It's him, Welbeck, Duffy.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not. Since that's where I think sometimes people would pick out on you're focusing on one player. Like, to be fair, I've said this before in the Tottenham game. I pinpointed Gross, and I did go in on Gross. I'm not going to say I didn't. But he's not proved to me that what I said was wrong.
Yeah.
Like what I said was unjustified. Unjustified? That's the word.
Unjustified. Yeah.
Teacher Tom, that's the right word.
Yes, correct.
Thank you, sir. Like I said, it is my opinion, and
absolutely.
I completely understand why people wouldn't agree with the opinion, but
I think
it doesn't faze me, mate.
It comes to a point where you just sort of absolutely acknowledge what you've said, and I think it is time for him to leave the club. It comes to a point where you don't want his reputation, but amongst Brighton fans, to be tarnished because of what he has done in previous seasons. That first season he was with us, and even the last shooting season, I thought he was easily our player of the season for both of those seasons. I thought he was great. But when Graham Potter came in, changed the system, then Pascal's been a little bit victim to maybe not quite fitting in. And if it is time to say goodbye to him this summer, fine by me, because as you say, Aaron, we do need to move on from him. But when he does leave, it will be with my 100% respect for him and every single one of my well wishes, because he deserves to be at a club where he can be the main man and provide what he can, what I know that he can provide. It's just not quite working at Brighton.
Yeah, and I think if we know anything about Brighton fans, no matter how much stick he's getting at the moment, if his club ever played Brighton, just like Ashley Barnes did with Burnley, the fans that were telling us all how much they hated him would be singing in his name a few seasons anyway. So, funny old world, isn't it? But no, I think it is time for Pascal to seek pastures new. But as you say, Joe, he has been immense for us. But I think the last season in particular has been telling. So let's move ahead then, because we've got a big game next. But is it going to be the Brighton way? Are we going to come off the back of defeats to Burnley, Villa, and Newcastle and put in a worldy performance against Liverpool, Joe? Or are we going to see the slump continue?
As you say, the Brighton way, you've said it a lot on the podcast. Everyone knows what the Brighton way is, and the Brighton way is to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool and beat them 3-0. I would be lying if I said that I was positive ahead of this game, because it is former Premier League and Champions League champions. They are world class, unbelievable team. They've got so many players that I could list off right now that could get into any squad in the world. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really tough test, but a test that this squad is really going to need, because if we're not at it, if we're like how we have been, we are going to get absolutely slapped. I said it on the group chat. I said we're going to get absolutely slapped next week. These players have to improve their mentality to just even stay in the game. We saw how we performed at Anfield, probably one of the best performances of the season after Liverpool's third goal was ruled out through offside. Gave us that chance, gave us that boost. Obviously, Mwepu with the goal of the season, probably up there with Morpé's overhead kick. And as I say, yeah, one of the performances of the season. So let's hope we can do that from the start. Let's hope we can have a 90 minutes performance, and just be on it, because as I say, we absolutely have to be on it, because they will give us no leeway at all.
No, they won't. Aaron, we tend to fare better, at least performance-wise, when we play teams that are above us in the table. Perhaps that's because those teams allow us a bit more space to do our thing instead of sitting in a low block. But as we've seen from the last few games, pace has absolutely torn us apart. But it's okay, because there's not many pacey players in the Liverpool team, is there? It's not like Mane and Salah are going to tear us a new one, is it, Aaron? Tell me it's going to be okay.
It's not. It's not. It's not going to be okay. Oh God, it's going to be an interesting Saturday afternoon, isn't it? Deary me. If we play like we did against Burnley and Villa, it's going to be 6 or 7 without a shadow of a doubt. We'll get absolutely humiliated, because Liverpool can play at 30% and will still hammer us, like if we play like we did against the last 2 home games, without a shadow of a doubt. And I watched them yesterday, and they could have quite easily been like 2 or 3-0 up within like 4 minutes. I was thinking, if that happens on a Saturday, it's going to be a very, very long afternoon. But like you said, the Brighton way is we'll probably end up getting a point, or we'll end up winning easily, like 2-3-0. We'll stop Liverpool scoring. Everyone will turn up, and it'll be like with prime Barcelona. I don't know what we're going to get. I say this every time we do predictions. I don't know what we're going to get, and especially from our form recently, I'm hoping it's going to be better than what we've had, but I'm not very hopeful. I'm not very hopeful at all.
They're not a team that you want to go up against when you're in the sort of form that we are in. As you say, Aaron, even when Liverpool are quite depleted, like they were when we played them at Anfield last season, we still had to really work for our victory there. I think last season when we beat them at Anfield, they didn't have their regular goalkeeper. They had a makeshift back four. And even then, that was really hard going. So a fully fit, firing Liverpool are a force to be reckoned with. And if the players don't pull their socks up, metaphorically and figuratively, then we are going to get absolutely torn to shreds. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Joe, I'll come to you first, mate. Score prediction, please, and goal scorer.
Goals got Aaron's on one. Tough one, really tough. I agree with Aaron. We just never know what Brighton's going to turn up. Never know what we're going to get. Let's be positive and go for this is actually me being positive, guys. Go for a 1-1 draw somehow. We done that last season in the lockdown game. We drew with them 1-1. So yeah, let's go with Lewis Dunk again. Why not?
I will take your 1-1 draw every day of the week, Joe. Aaron, what are your thoughts on goals and scorers, and will we get absolutely thrashed?
We will not score, so we will not have scorers. Probably a good week if you're a FPL player to triple captain Salah, if you've got him in your team. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. I dread to think is my honest answer. I do not know. It all depends on if we turn up. It's going to be probably a draw. If we don't, yeah, it's going to be bad. I can't even think positive at the moment. I generally can't. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know, boys. I really don't.
I feel you there, Aaron, because yesterday when the full-time whistle went, I was proper dejected. You can ask my wife. I was just slumped on the sofa, couldn't give a crap. I was meant to be enjoying a baby-free day, as Tom mentioned at the start of the podcast. And I thought, right, let's put a right dampener on this. I then pulled myself out of it and thought, right, okay, tomorrow on the podcast, I'm going to be nice and positive. I'm going to say that we're going to get through this and everything's going to be fine. I do believe that everything will be fine eventually. I don't know when. I wish I could tell you. I wish I had a crystal ball. But yeah, I'm sure your mood and your negative thinking is matched by probably about 80% of the Brighton fans right now. So well within your rights.
Yeah. I try to be positive as well. Whenever we do these predictions, I've always gone for a Brighton win. And if this game had come before Christmas, I would probably keep that trend going. I'm going to predict a 2-0 loss. I just don't think we're going to be able to contain the pace that Liverpool have at their disposal. A current form, I can't see us scoring. I think at best we could get a draw, but as we constantly say on this podcast, it just depends what Brighton team turn up. And if the performance is not at 110%, we'll get torn apart. So there you go. Just before we sign off for the episode, Joe, I would like to come to you and talk to you about your lovely, wonderful shirt that you're wearing, because I don't know if you know this, listeners and watchers, but Joe is part of a wonderful football team that are doing wonderful things, and they've just been in the paper, Joe. So tell us about your lovely five-a-side team.
Yeah, just been in the paper in the Worthing Herald, which we're incredibly grateful for them putting our story in there. So last year, after the third lockdown, I've lost count, but after the lockdown that ended last April time, maybe. I decided I wanted to get back playing football. I am incredibly unfit and still am. I have to say, I pretty much end up walking around the pitch every Sunday. So I decided every Sunday I would get a bunch of friends together and help them get fit again and help them, more importantly, get fit mentally again, because obviously lockdown and the whole COVID situation was tough for a lot of people. Pretty much everyone in the country was affected by it. So yeah, I decided to put that together. We've been plugging away for the last year, trying to get more people involved, and the wonderful Worthing Herald put our story in the paper, which we're incredibly grateful for, as I said. So what we do is every Sunday just get together, five-a-side, and just have a laugh, have a kickabout. So if you are free, we've lost Aaron. If you are free every Sunday, it's Lancing Monks Recreation Ground, 11:30. If you want to get down, please do. If you want to donate, I'll put a link on Twitter. You can go and follow us at Lancing Warriors. So yeah, it's a great cause, and I love being a part of it. Really.
Oh, good skills, mate. Really glad that you found something you can connect to, especially after what has been a really mad couple of years for people, both physically and mentally. It's been very challenging. So no, good skills, Joe. Really
I
proud of you,
probably
mate.
rambled a bit there, but yeah, and
Not
really
great.
exciting things are happening with it. I contacted, or sorry, I was contacted by the Lancing Football Club chairman yesterday to see if they would be able to help us in any way. A great guy. Wants to do so much for us. Also, Mental Health United have done quite a lot for us as well. Sort of emulated what they're doing there. They do a session in Hove and a session in Lancing as well. So if you're more over Brighton way, go and check out Mental Health United and get involved with them.
Definitely amazing causes there. Thank you, Joe. Well then, guys, that is it from us at Albion Obsessed. Thank you to Aaron and to Joe for joining us this afternoon, and thank you for listening and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already for more Albion Obsessed content coming at you in the near future. Follow us on Twitter and make sure you at Aaron about his dodgy Pascal Gross opinions. But that's it from us. We'll see you next time. Take care.